All right, welcome back to Neural Intel. You know the drill. For the deepest dives into the tech that's actually shaping our industry, check us out at neural-intel.org. Today, we're tearing down the fortress that is Nvidia. And the hook is a question I think we're all asking. Nvidia looks untouchable, right? But here's the problem. You've got giants like Google, you've got scrappy startups all training top-tier models on their own silicon. You've got the big cloud providers writing their own custom kernels. So, is that massive moat around Nvidia actually a lot shallower than we think? We're going to dig into Jensen Huang's playbook to find out. His three-walled defense and his take on the massive strategic threat knocking at the gates.
So let's kick things off with this quote from Jensen himself. Now, for a crowd like us, this isn't just some slick marketing line. He's making a profound architectural statement here. He's saying Nvidia is the entire stack. From the moment electrons hit the system to the moment a token is generated, Nvidia owns everything in between. It's this claim that he's not just shipping chips, he's selling the entire, fully optimized pipeline for turning power into intelligence. And his whole strategy, as we'll see, is about owning every single critical layer of that process. And this, right here, this is the central question, isn't it? It's the thing that probably keeps a lot of you, architects, CTOs, up at night. We're all grappling with the idea that AI might just commoditize software development itself. Well, if that's true, what's stopping it from commoditizing Nvidia next? I mean, think about it. At its core, Nvidia ships a design file to TSMC and then wraps it in a massive software stack. When your biggest customers, the ones spending billions, are already training state-of-the-art models on their own custom chips and writing their own low-level kernels, you really have to ask, is this dominance just a temporary blip, or is there something way more fundamental holding it all together?
Okay, so let's start with the first wall of this fortress, the supply chain. Now, on the surface, this looks like Nvidia just throwing money at the problem. But the real story, the engineering and the strategy, goes so much deeper.
Yeah, the myth, the story you hear everywhere, is pretty simple, right? It's that Nvidia just took its mountain of cash, went to partners like TSMC, and bought up all the HBM and all the CoWoS packaging capacity for years out. The idea is they just starved the competition of the critical parts they needed. It's a simple, brute force financial play. And look, don't get me wrong, the numbers are absolutely staggering. We're talking purchase commitments well north of $100 billion. But here's the thing, Jensen argues, and it's a key point. Writing the checks is the easy part. Seriously, any company with enough capital could try to do that. The real moat isn't the cash. It's the incredible strategic alignment that makes those checks even possible in the first place.
And this is the reality. This is our first neural signal check. Here's why this actually matters at a technical and strategic level for you as a builder. The real moat isn't just money. It's this four-step dance Jensen orchestrates. First, inform. He paints a vision for the entire industry of where this is all going, the sheer scale of it. Then, inspire. He gets the CEOs of these massive global companies to actually believe in that vision. Third, align. He coordinates everyone, upstream and downstream, to start building for that shared future. And finally, execute. Nvidia's own massive, predictable demand pipeline acts as a guarantee, completely de-risking the billions in capital investment for all those partners. So think about it. If you're a CTO and you bet on a competitor, you're not just betting on their chip. You're betting they can pull off this insane global orchestration from a dead stop. That's a huge system-level risk.
All right, on to wall number 2. And honestly, this is probably the most critical part of the whole argument, the technical stack itself. This is where we get into that core debate that everyone designing AI systems has to face, programmability versus specialization.
So this really lays out the two sides of the coin, the fundamental architectural bet. For years, the conventional wisdom was that as AI matured, specialized chips, ASICs, like Google's TPUs, were going to win out. It makes sense, right? If you have a predictable workload like matrix math, you build custom silicon for it and get insane efficiency. But Jensen's whole argument is that this is a dangerously short-sighted bet. Why? Because it anchors your entire roadmap to the slow, grinding pace of Moore's law. And he brings the receipts. Look at the jump from Hopper to Blackwell. It's a 50x performance leap. Now, where did that come from? Well, Moore's law, the actual transistor improvements, that only got them a 1.75x gain. The real juice, that massive 28x multiplier, came from brand new algorithms. Things like mixture of experts, new number formats, stuff that you can only implement and take advantage of on a fully programmable architecture.
And this really gets to the heart of it, especially for any researchers or model architects listening. The insane speed of AI progress isn't just about better silicon, it's about algorithmic discovery. And having a programmable platform like CUDA is what lets the entire global research community experiment, invent new kernels, and deploy totally new architectures. And that's what delivers these order-of-magnitude gains that leave fixed-function hardware in the dust. Okay, so let's do another neural signal check, because this is super important. When you choose an ASIC, you are making a hard bet. You're betting that today's dominant architecture, let's say the dense transformer, is going to stick around long enough for you to get your money's worth. You're optimizing for right now. But when you choose a programmable GPU, you're making a different bet. You're betting that the crazy, rapid evolution of AI is going to continue. So for you, as a developer or an architect, that flexibility in CUDA, it's not just some nice-to-have feature. It's basically an insurance policy against your entire multi-billion-dollar hardware stack becoming a dinosaur with the next big paper that drops.
Okay, on to the third wall of the fortress. This is the one everyone talks about, the CUDA ecosystem. Competitors love to call it lock-in, but it's really much more of a powerful, self-reinforcing flywheel.
So here's the myth, or at least the strong counter-argument you hear a lot, and it's a fair point. The argument goes that the biggest, most sophisticated customers, we're talking the hyperscalers, the top AI labs, they aren't really touching Nvidia's high-level libraries. They've got their own teams of brilliant compiler engineers writing custom kernels and things like Triton or Mojo, squeezing out every last drop of performance. So for those huge critical customers, the value of that big CUDA software ecosystem seems to be going down, right?
But Jensen's version of reality is that this isn't about lock-in at all. It's about this incredible flywheel effect. You've got the sheer richness of the libraries and frameworks built up over decades. You have an install base of hundreds of millions of GPUs, which means your code just runs everywhere. It's the only stack that has that versatility across every cloud and on-prem. And then there's trust, and this is a big one that people overlook. As a developer, when your training job fails at 3 a.m., you can be almost certain the bug is in your code, not in the driver. That stability is worth its weight in gold. And it all adds up to the best TCO, the best total cost of ownership in the industry. Quick neural signal check on this. For an architect, this all translates to faster developer velocity. For a researcher, it means your experiments just work, first try, no matter where you run them.
And I love this F1 analogy he uses because it makes a really sharp point about total cost of ownership, which is what every CTO ultimately cares about. He says, look, our GPUs are like Formula One cars. Sure, you can buy one, but it takes a huge amount of expertise to actually drive it to its limit. He's saying that even for the most expert teams at the top AI labs, NVIDIA's own people, the ones who co-design the hardware and the software from day one, can walk in and find system-level tweaks that get you another 2x, maybe even 3x performance boost. Now think about the scale these guys operate at. That's not a small improvement. You've just doubled or tripled the revenue-generating power of a billion-dollar data center.
Okay, last section. We've talked about the internal walls of the fortress. Now we have to talk about the biggest external threat banging on the gates, this incredibly complex situation with U.S. export controls to China.
So we're just going to lay out the two opposing views here as clearly as possible. On one side, you have the U.S. national security argument. It's all about the immediate threat. You have to prevent a strategic adversary from getting their hands on the frontier AI chips they could use for things like cyber attacks or military applications. It's a strategy of containment, plain and simple. Jensen's counterargument is focused on the long-term strategic risk. He says, if you cede that massive market, you are basically forcing China to double down and build its own, completely independent rival tech stack. And that, he argues, could eventually grow to challenge U.S. dominance. And this is really the core of his concern. From a technologist's point of view, he's worried about splitting the entire global AI ecosystem in two. He paints this picture of a future where you have this massive open source community, and remember, half the world's AI developers are in China, and they're all forced to build and optimize their models for a non-American tech stack. To him, that's how you create a powerful, long-term competitor and ultimately lose America's technological leadership, even if you get a short-term security win.
So we'll leave you with this final question, something for every architect, researcher, and CTO out there to think about. There is no question that Nvidia has built an absolutely masterful fortress for the current era of AI, the era of transformers, the era of CUDA, but the entire history of technology is just a graveyard of invincible fortresses that got completely bypassed by the next paradigm shift. So the question is this incredible, programmable fortress agile enough to adapt if the next great leap in AI isn't just a better transformer, but a fundamentally different model of computation altogether? And that, right there, is the multi-trillion-dollar question.